Hello everybody and welcome to Vaidya's Chess Hub. So in today's lecture we are going to have a look at the tournament that we all played. Really awesome tournament organized by Soumitra, and I have to say it was really very tough to win all the games. Some of the games were easy but some were really tough, and the tournament was won by Soumitra, so congratulations to him. Also second place Jay, congratulations to you as well, and everyone who participated and fought, congratulations to them as well. You also learned something from it. So now today I will share few things that I found in your games, some mistakes, inaccuracies, some brilliances also. Before going there, I want to share something which I didn't like about the tournament. Was if I go to last page, you can see here some of some of the players have only played 2 games or 4 games. Now, in a 1 hour tournament, you can see I have played 8 games. Out of those, some of I had berserk and some I had played with normal time control, 5 minutes, 3 second increment. It is not possible that you play 2 games or 4 games unless you have joined late or you have forgot to make a move or you did not appear for the game. One of those things. I mean, it is really not acceptable. And some of the participants also quit the tournament when they lose couple of games. I will come to Purvesh. It is really nice when I saw this line of zeros. Although he lost all the games, he still played all the games, and I was really impressed. And it is important. This fighting spirit you all should have. It happens also to the elite level players as well. Sometimes, if you play in a club of let's say 2800, if 2600 rated player plays in a club of 2800 rated players, he also faces some results. You can see many tournaments where the lower seed 1800 or 1900 seed, when he plays in a A group tournament, he also faces some same result. But why he participates in such events? Because he wants to get an experience to play against a good player. Now, if you don't play many games, then how will you get a chance to play against me or some other players? If Omkar Sir is playing, how can you get a chance if you play 2 or 3 games? So it is really not good. I was not happy with this players who are at the bottom who joined late and who did not play the full hour. I'm really not happy with them. Hopefully, from next time I see good games. Manas, please remember this. Now, at least get to the positive things now. Now, there were total 44 players who participated in the tournament, which is really nice. Very great number. It was very well done by Soumitra to organize this tournament. Now, when I saw the games, I saw every game. I tried to see almost every game. I saw similar kind of mistake by the players who are rated in the similar range, like the players from 800 to 1200. They make almost identical mistakes. They give either free pieces or they blunder something, blunder checkmate in one or something like that, or blunder a piece in the opening. Now these mistakes are very common. And then I thought that when I started playing on the leeches, I was also 1800, I was also 800 or 1200 at some point, and now my rating is around 2000 or 2100. Then I thought few points that I improved on that helped me to gain a rating of 2100 at some point. So I have listed down these points rating wise in the rating range. So I hope you all are ready with the notebook because I want you to note down these points. These are really helpful. If you follow these points, then I'm sure you will increase your rating by 200 to 300. I'm pretty sure about that. So let's discuss these points first. I will discuss the point. Please listen to me very carefully, and then you can copy it in your notepad. First, it is important to listen those points and to understand those points. So this is the report. This was the result. Now, these are few tips that I have shortlisted for the rating range of 800 to 1200. This is a leeches rating range that I have picked up, and I saw similar mistakes in all of your games who are in between this rating range. As you know, the lowest rated player was around 840 or something, I guess. So these are the tips. Those who are in this rating range, I want you to write down these 6 points and think about them very seriously and try to apply them during your games. I'm sure your results will improve. So I will explain you each and every point now, and then you can write it down later as well by reviewing the video. So first rule is don't go berserk against anyone. When you are a lower seed in the tournament, your rating is lower than other all players. It doesn't make any sense that you go berserk against these players. I saw many players who are rated around 900 or 800. They are going berserk against 1700 or 1600. It really doesn't make any sense. I think berserk is not really a good feature at all. So I'm going to come to that point. I'm going to discuss tournament system, a different tournament system that you all should play where there is no berserk. It is really good because berserk means nothing actually. It has nothing to do with chess. It just means that you can even beat your opponent with lowering your time. That doesn't make any sense. And if you are 800 or 900 rated, that doesn't make any sense at all to go berserk against a higher rated. So please don't do that from next time. I don't want anyone. I have seen at least 3 to 4 players. I will come to that point later, who have berserked against a higher rated opponent. The second thing I want you to remember is think of your opponent's last move. Many people say that chess is tough, chess is difficult, there are a lot of moves to calculate, grandmasters calculate 10 moves at a time. But at 800 to 1200 level, chess is, I think, very easy if you follow these basic steps. Just think of your opponent's last move, and after each move that your opponent makes, you should notice few things. The third point, I'm coming to it. Watch out for hanging pieces. Really, it is that simple. After each move your opponent plays, you have to see which of my piece is hanging and which of his piece is hanging, which pieces are loose, which pieces can I capture immediately, which of my pieces are not well placed, which of my pieces I should defend. These are very common things, and it is really important for the players of this range to concentrate on these things. I will show you many examples where the players have just blundered free pieces. Let me tell you, when you blunder a piece, it's the game is over at that point only. You can play later, but it doesn't make any sense. You should not resign. That's another point. But the game has lost its integrity and everything. The blundering pieces, I consider it like falling when you are walking. Let's say you are walking from a Dombili station to hub. How many times you fall during you when you walk? Never, right? Just like that, when you play chess, you should not blunder any of your pieces. You should protect them. It's that easy. It should come naturally to you. Then you can enjoy the beauty of the surroundings like you do when you go to hub. You see what's happening on the road, what people are doing. Like that in chess also, when you are playing, when you don't blunder, then you look at the king side, what's happening, what queen side, what is happening. So really, this is the basic thing. Remember this principle. Think of your opponent's last move. Only the last move you have to see, and you have to see which of his pieces are hanging and which of your pieces are hanging. The fourth principle that I noticed is players are often too casual about their approach to the game at this level. So I'm giving you a guideline as to how many moves you should think. I'm saying only 2 moves ahead. That means you played some move, your opponent makes a move. Try to think of 2 moves. That means what is your going to be reply to that move, and to that what your opponent will play. So in short, only one move you have to think. So depending on your opponent's choice, which you cannot predict, obviously, you have to decide your own move. But at each point, think of opponent's 2 moves. That I play this, my opponent plays this, I will play this. So only that much calculation, just 2 moves. What you are going to play, and after your opponent replies, what is your intended reply. So that is the most basic thing. Fifth point is Try to set small traps for your opponents. Now, I'm sure when you are in the level 1 or level 2, you all learn about checkmates, right? Basic checkmates. Try to create those threats. I will share some names who are lower rated. They created beautiful attacking games. They just try to attack with every move. You know, Gary Kasparov has a famous saying. Gary Kasparov says that if you create threat with each of your moves, your opponent is likely to blunder at some point. So at 800 to 1200 level, players anyway give pieces for free. So if you make a threat, there is a more chance that you will win a piece and you will win the game. The sixth important point is try to consider 2 to 3 moves when you make each move and decide the best amongst them. Now this is very important that I find that at 800 to 1200 player never thinks of. He doesn't think of any option. You can see in chess there are several million possibilities after just one or two moves. So you should think of really all the options that you have, and for that I'm giving you a little task. When you play a game against any opponent, try to think of 2 to 3 moves, and out of them play only the best move that you think is the best really. But at each point consider 2 to 3 moves. What this will do is that this will increase your imagination power, this will increase your creativity. You will think of many options, and from your mistakes you will learn that this option did not work last time, so I will play differently next time. I will not go with my first thought, I will go with my second thought. So this really helps. This is a task for you guys. From the next tournament you play, with each move think of the alternative moves as well. Try to think that what else can I do here. So these are my 6 tips for 800 to 1200 rated players. Now let's go to next slide. Now 1200 to 600 rated players, there are few players in this rating range as well. Now they also blunder pieces, but with less frequency. I can see they don't blunder very frequently. So the tips are different for these guys. Obviously the first 6 tips also apply to players rated at any level basically, but for this rating range I will say that I hope you are noting, by the way. It is expected that you don't blunder any pieces. As I said earlier, the mistakes that 800 to 1200 players, rated players do, you are not supposed to make them. Second is try to formulate small plans. Now this is very important that I find in 1200 to 600 players rated games, that they don't really have a plan. They just make sure that they are not blundering anything, and they are taking their opponent's pieces, but they never make a plan. So there are always some small strategies, some attacking plan, some way, and try to find a logic behind your moves that you are going to make. How are you going to exactly build an attack? What is going to be your strategy? Are you going to attack? Do you want to go into an end game, or are you going to play defensive? So think about this when you play. It is really important. It will help you. The third point is don't make holes in your position with unnecessary moves. Many times chess players face this problem when they start playing. After 8 to 10 moves, they feel like, now I don't know what should I do. I should go here or I should go there. But at these points, what 1200 to 600 players rated do, the common mistake, is that they push their king side pawns. They weaken their king by pushing unnecessary, by making unnecessary pawn moves. It is very important. I will show you one game where just the other player did nothing, but the player rated in this range, he just self-destructed himself by making all the weakening moves. So don't create unnecessary weakness is the third important thing. Fourth option is think what your opponent can do. Now this is something that I have not recommended to 800 or 1200 players, because they don't have ability to guess opponent's moves. Now when you are at this level, at 1200 to 600 level, you're aware that what your opponent wants to do, how he wants to attack you, what is going to be his plan. With each move you can see that. So to 800 and 1200 players I have told them to consider 2 to 3 moves when it is their turn. But when 1200 to 600 rated players are playing, my advice to you is that think of opponent's 2 to 3 options. What strategies he can employ, and it is very important. It helps you when you play a game, that a second or third plan, he might not use it immediately, but after 3 to 4 moves he can use it. So at each stage try to think of his 2 to 3 variations that he can play. So it is really important. Then you consider more plans as well. Your pattern recognition, imagination also improves with it, and also you become more aware of your game, about the weaknesses that you are going to face in your game, your king's weaknesses, your positional weaknesses. So this is the fourth point. Think what your opponent can do. And by think I mean that think more. You are thinking already when you play, but think more what he can do. Fifth point is follow general chess principles of opening. Now, a very common mistake that I found in all games was that the general principles of the openings were not followed. I can show you many games, or you can also look at the many games where the basic principle. Now, what are the basic principles? Develop each piece in a one move. Castle as early as possible. King safety is important. These are the basic rules. They are not just to by heart. These are the rules that help you during your game. I saw many players giving randomly queen check, just making 4 to 8 moves with the queen, making unnecessary move, making the same moves with the same pieces, not paying attention to the castling. Now, this I don't want you to do in the players from 1200 to 600 range. So follow general opening principles and play logically. And sixth point is try to set a clever trap. Now this is, I think, really important, because when a chess player advances to next level, I think this is a very important transition that happens in his style. For example, let's say when I was around 13 to 1500, when I started playing chess, I used to be very tricky. I used to set traps like knight forks and three movement. I started with three movement. Everyone starts with that, but you create some clever traps. But then when you play higher rated opponents, you realize that the four move checkmate doesn't really work. So you think of a clever traps. So like that also, when you are solving a tactics, you should solve a higher rated tactics, so that in your games as well, you try to set a clever trap. Don't set up a very obvious trap. I will show you that examples as well, where opponent set is a very cheap trap. We say in chess it is a cheap trick. Don't play for cheap tricks. Try to be smarter and try to create a very clever trap that your opponent might not see at first sight. So these are the 6 tips for players in this rating range. Now moving on is the rating range 1600 to 1800. Now I saw that there are 3 to 4 players, I guess, around in this range. There are many 1700 players. 3 to 4 participated, I guess, in this tournament. So what is my tip for you, I guess? I guess Soumitra is there, and Bihang and other 2 to 3 guys are there. So these 6 tips are for you guys. I hope you all will note it in future. Now try to understand what I am just trying to say. Now for the players of this rating range, the first tip is work on your openings. Try to understand logic behind openings that you play. Now this is very important. Try to understand logic behind openings that you play. Why certain move is played? Only because I taught you Sicilian defense. I have said play Queen C7. Like I will come to you, Soumitra, when you play Taimano. I saw you played many Taimano games, and you won also a couple of them. But it is very important to understand the logic behind the moves. Now, in short, I will tell you to the higher rated players what is exactly the logic behind the opening theory. Whenever an opening theory develops, it is always based on the general principles of the opening. Now, what are the general principles? As I said earlier, develop each piece in a single move, castle as early as possible. Now these are general principles for a lower rated players. Now how you can apply these principles for a higher rating range, for your rating range, is by stopping the opponent from applying these general principles. Now this is very important. A rule says castle as early as possible. Now what you should try to do in your game, try to stop opponent from castling as early as possible. So every rule has this converse. Now this converse that you have to think of, that what you can do in your game. So understand the logic behind the openings. What is going to be the strategy behind the openings? Uh, the second rule, try to find best moves. try to develop skill of ignoring unwanted variations. Now, in the start, when you don't have any idea about the game, you think of all the possible moves. What if I play this? What if I play this? But when you get an experience, you should develop this experience where you teach yourself that no, this is not the right plan. This way I am not going to get a good attack. This way is not the correct way of defense. Think about these things. I think 1600 to 1800 players really don't think about this thing, that which attack will work, which defense will not work. Now I told 800 rated players to think of the opponent's move. I told 1200 to 600 rated players, try to think the variations in opponent's move. What candidate moves that opponent can make. Now, what I am teaching you guys is that how to find the best moves that will make your opponent think hard. Don't give him any easy choices. Third important point that is very important at this level is trade smartly. Now, what do I mean by this? Always ask yourself when you are exchanging pieces, am I going to benefit from this trade or not? This is very important for all of you to consider the exchanges. Now, I know you don't blunder any pieces, you create tactics, you do all the beginners things. But now, what is the next stage for you? Trade, when you exchange, always think, is this exchange going to benefit me or not? Should I exchange or not? This question you should ask yourself, and I'm sure you will improve if you consider this, if you ask this question to yourself. Fourth important point is see if you can use tactical patterns in attack as well as defense. Now, the players of this level, they are well versed with pins, knight forks, and all the tricks to checkmate, all the skewers and things. Now, you should try to use this tactical motifs in order to create attack or in order to defend. They are not just to solve in a puzzle book. You should use them in your actual games as well. Try to think of these patterns. Fifth point is utilize your time and use increment well. Now, this is very important, using an increment. If you see players, super grandmasters or grandmasters or international masters even, they are well aware with the increment. Now, this is more of the over the board tip, I guess, using the increment. In internet blitz, increment is, I mean, you generally use it because the move is automatically made, you don't have to press the clock. But when you play over the board chess, remember this thing, that you are always aware in your head. You don't have to look at the clock. You should be always aware in your head. How much time do I have? How much time do I need to spend on the particular move? These things you should remember, and they are very important. Now, that's why this point is very important. Utilize your time and use your increment. The sixth important point is think of your mistakes and learn from them and forget. Now, I will come to the general rules for everyone in a while, but this is very important that you will learn from your mistakes and then forget them as well, because you don't want to have memories where that I blundered like this against him, now I'm going to blunder against him. Remove all the negative thoughts that you have about the mistake, but before removing that memory, you should learn from it. You should draw conclusion that yeah, this way I should not have really played. I shouldn't have been that much relaxed. I should have spent more time analyzing this variation. I should have spent try to draw some conclusion out of it, and then forget the mistakes. So these 6 points are for you guys, the 31700 that we have. And now these general tips are for everyone, all the participants, all the chess players who are playing. First important thing is analyze your own game. Now, why analyzing is important? During a chess game, you put a lot of efforts into your game. You think of many alternatives, many options, many plans that you create. Now, just with the engine or with your coach, just make sure that why this plan was not good, why the plan that I had thought of, why this plan is not good, how, where should I improve, which attack was successful, which move should I have played. These all the answers to these questions you should try to find out when you analyze your own games, and you will be surprised. There are many moves that you just miss. You just don't see them. There are many tactics that you blunder. I will share those as well. The second important point is for more of a practical player is that think in your opponent's time. When opponent is thinking, he is thinking about the same game that you are playing. No? So use that time also to think of your moves. It is very common thing that players don't seem to agree with. Players think that when he will make a move, I will see. That's not the right approach. He is thinking about the same game that you are playing. So think in his time, and it also saves time on your clock. So it is really important that you remember this. Third thing is calculate forcing variation first, and then consider other possibilities. Your way of thinking should always be like, first you should consider forcing moves. Now what do I mean by forcing moves? Forcing moves, that means if I capture this, he will capture this. Then what happens? Am I better or not? Second thing is if I go for attack, he will defend like that. Is it better or not? Now this is called as a forcing variations, when there are only moves that you have to calculate. Think of that first. It is similar to the point that I made about the exchanging pieces. Am I better or not? Like question. Think about the forcing variation first, and where you go. As Magnus Carlsen, you will see he always thinks of the forcing lines. He always needs clarity on the board. So fifth important point is give your 100% in each game. No doubt about that. Learn from your mistakes, as I have said earlier as well. From a mistake, you should learn from them and then forget them. And sixth point is there is always something to learn from each game. Every game, if you go into a depth of any game you play, there is always something to you will learn in opening or in middle game or in your general thinking process. So these were my tips for all of you guys, and the examples that I'm going to show you now, these are just based on this trick, these simple things only. They are all arise from these tips only. Okay, so now moving on. So this is the puzzle that I will show you at the in the end. So let's go to some games now. So these are some of the games that I have prepared. Now we are going to see what happened. So first game that I have selected is between Nadish and Purvesh Kulkarni. Now why I have selected this game? You can see Nadish is rated 896 and Purvesh is rated 1040, and no one has buzzer. That is the good news. And we'll have a look at this game. What happened? Nadish started with e4, e5, knight f3, and bishop c5. Mistake at this point only. This pawn needs protection. As you can see from his idea was to checkmate here like this. But this plan doesn't really work because of many reasons. You can play d4 here and just defend it, and there will be no threat. In the game, he played queen e2, d6. And now, Nadish, I want to ask you, what would you play here as white? Now, I hope you have written down the notepad the rules that I have told you. Now, read all those rules and think of a move here. Now, there one rule that I stated there is that think of opponent's last move. Your opponent's last move was d6. Which of your piece is hanging? Your knight is hanging on e5. And which move you made? You played c3. Now, what's the point behind this move? Now, make sure from next time you have read the rule now. So, you should be aware of the rule. What will you play here? Protect the knight. Go back. Knight f3 you can play. Attack the queen. Such a nice move. Also with the move queen e2, you are trying to stop the mate, but also we know the opening rule that you should always push the center pawn. When you have a chance, you should play d4 here. Why not? Gaining a tempo over this bishop, also stopping the checkmate. Next move you can move the bishop somewhere and then castle. Sorry, then castle, and just you are just better here. Okay, that might be a more advanced thing for you. But after he attacks the knight, you should move it. He played c3, so black captured this. d4, okay, going for perfect center now, but the pawn was hanging. Black took that pawn. Bishop e3, okay, exchanges. Now from black side, Purvesh, I don't really understand this move. What this move Bishop G4 does exactly? I mean, what are you going to stop with this move? Bishop can anyways go to E2, and then you have to trade again. So he gave check, knight C6. Also C6 was possible. Just asking this bishop why you give check to me. But knight C6, white traded E5. Okay, not really good move. Moving the same pawn again. Why don't you castle? Should castle. Remember the general principles. Knight e7, queen e4. Okay, trying to create a pin. And now here is a mistake that I would never expect a higher rated player. Now you can see Purvesh is higher rated than Nadesh. And look at their times, by the way. This is the most important point that you will see in all the games. Purvesh has 5 minutes and 7 seconds. The time control was 5 minutes plus 3 second increment, and at this point he has 5 minutes and 7 seconds. How is that possible? I mean, he did not think of any moves. What these 5 minutes are for? What are you going to do them after you lose a game? You don't get those 5 minutes again. No, you have those 5 minutes. Think about the move. Now, what move he played here? He played castle first. Okay, white played knight c3, and then he played this move bishop f5, and still he has 5 minutes 4 seconds with the black pieces. His opponent, by the way, also is not thinking. Nadesh, also make note of it. You should fall down below 2 minutes by this point. You have made 14. Okay, not below 3 minutes at least. You should think of all the moves. Uh, just 15 moves, and you still have almost the same time as you started with. And also you made a blunder with this move bishop f5. And now what Nadish did, he just took the queen and black resigned. So you still have this 5 minutes, but what are you going to do with this 5 minutes now? They're lost. You have lost the game, so there is nothing to play for. So don't make such mistake again. Now the rating range I was talking about earlier as 896 to 800 to 1200. So this example comes exactly in this rating range. Now what happened in the game you just saw, you just blundered away. So the next game is again in the same rating range. Now this time I have shown the because Purvesh might feel sad, so I have shown his win in 9 moves only again. So e4, e5, knight f3, bishop c5. Again he goes for his trap, but instead of going queen h4, now he goes to f6 this time, attacking the f2 pawn, threatening checkmate. White plays queen e2. Again, just same principle that I have already taught you. After each of your opponent's move, think what you can do. Think of your hanging pieces. This knight on e5 is hanging. Put it back. The checkmate threat is defended. There is no checkmate here. You will play d4 next move, kick out this bishop. You will develop your bishop. You will castle. Nice position, no? Why to fail for such a trick? Why to give up this knight for free? I know king is important, but you can defend the king with the knight move. So simple. So queen e2, queen e5. Piece is lost when both the players have just started the game. Still same time. Knight c3, bishop b4, d3. Again mistake. This knight had no protection. See, the mistakes they don't come singly with with one move. It is the saying that mistakes often come in bunches. So when you made this inaccuracy of playing this move queen e2, locking your bishop in, the second mistake automatically followed because this bishop had no move. So you made room for your other bishop, but that is a mistake again because black just took this. He played queen takes c3, and then again bishop d2, queen takes a1, and now black managed to get this knight on e5, this rook on a1, and after queen takes a2, white just resigned the game. And look how much time both of these guys have. They still have 4 minutes 25 and 4 minutes 53. What are you going to do with this time? Tell me about it. Type in the comment section. What are you going to do with this time? Okay, so all the examples are like this from the first 6 games. So the only thing I can tell to Purvesh and Nadesh and Mohit as well is that think of the opponent's last move, which of your piece is hanging, which of opponent's piece is hanging. Try to capture it and don't hang any pieces for free. So these two games were based on the same thing. uh, I will take a little break. Till then, you can solve this position. This is for you. I will give you a 2 minute break for this one. So this is homework for you guys. Black to play. Can he save himself? His king is under tremendous pressure. You can see. Yeah, you can come to this later on. I always suggest that you take a screenshot of this and then try to set it on board and solve. It's always good. Everyone should type in comment section. I'm going to check your answers. It is black to play. Can he save himself here with this deadly attack? Okay, so let me check if camera is proper. Okay, moving on. So we saw these two examples. Now a game by Lavanya we are going to see against Yatharth. Uh, I think it was a decent game by Lavanya, which although she is rated lower than Yatharth, but still it was a good game, I think. And the thing I liked about this game is that Lavanya at least made some plan. So let's have a quick look at this game. So normal opening, bishop e7, solid line. So far Yatharth is playing very good. So I really like this opening. I mean, no one has blundered till move 6. That's nice, always nice to see. Bishop g4, h3, still normal position. And at this point, Yatharth just took her knight, bishop take knight. What is the most natural recapture? The higher rated guys can tell. She took with the g pawn. The most natural move is obviously to take with the queen. This queen is under no, the queen has no threats. Even if knight goes to d4, you can always come back. There is nothing threatening about it. Now this is the rule that I mentioned for 1200 to 1600 range, or I guess for the lower rated as well, that always think of your king's safety. By the move that was played in the game g takes f3, your king is just open and black can try to put his knight on f4 and queen to d7 and queen to h3 and can be checkmate very quickly. Although black did not use this chance, rook e8 was played. Black played more conservatively. Yatharth, remember this plan. This knight belongs on f4. Trade off this bishop. Try to decrease the defenders of the king and then just bring your queen. Attack your this weaknesses and win. You don't always have to play modestly and try to develop all this. Okay, this knight f5 move is okay. She played b4. Generally, you don't want to give up this bishop, which is very nicely pointing towards the king. But okay, knight f5 forced her to give up the bishop. c5. Yatharth is playing very conservatively here. So queen b1, b5. The thing I liked about this game is that she tried to create some plans. She is attacking the b7 pawn, although she has to take care of her king in case the black player was someone else, and the attack would have came. The queen is very misplaced here. It's not really doing good. So b5, rook d1. She tried to bring the rook to the open file. Queen b7, h4, h6. So far, very normal moves. Yeah, this move I was talking about in my rule. By this point, you can already see that the with the move that was played in the game g6, there is no reason to play this move because white doesn't have any breakthroughs on the king side anyways. What is he going to do with this pawn on h5? There is no attack on this king. The queen is also far off. The bishop is also far off. The black king position actually is very solid here with this pawns on f7, g7, and h6. So why play g6 and weaken your own structure? I have written it in one of my rules that don't weaken your. This is the position that I was talking about. When you run out of plans, you make a random move. You make a weakening move and weaken your position unnecessarily. You should not really do it. You could have played the knight back to f6, try to bring this knight to wonderful square on d4. Again, I have uh, already told you the plan to swing the pieces towards the king side. The king is here. There is no one here. So why the pieces are all crowded on the queen side? Makes really no sense. So after g6, what happened? The logical course happened. The king was weakened. This h6 pawn is instantly hanging, and h take g6, f take g6, bishop take h6. He just lost a pawn, plus his king is also now weak. c4, queen f6. Now he brought the queen into the attack, forgetting that the knight is hanging on d7, and she just took this knight, and then Yatharth, you resigned. I really don't get the point of resigning in a blitz game. You should always play. Her king is weak. Take this pawn on f3. You can always have queen g4 when you take this pawn, attacking the rook and attacking the king. Her king is weak. Try to bring this bishop to h4. Try to attack the weakness on f2 pawn. You have some play in the position. You are not out of resources here. So there was indeed no reason to resign here. Although black's position is lost, I agree with that, but there is really no need to resign in this position. You could have played on for a little bit. Although I can see you are down on time, so maybe that is thing. And also you have played very less games. That is not really acceptable. Or maybe you played all the long games. That is another possibility. But make sure that you play all the games really. And you played solid chess, but you did not try to attack. And I have seen in your games when I was teaching in hub as well, that you don't usually go for attack or think about aggressive plans. But sometimes if your opponent has created this kind of weaknesses, you should try to attack on those weaknesses. Let me check the internet. So next game we are going to. Okay, so next game we are going to take a look at, it's the game between Samarth and Ekansh. So e4, e5, Danish gambit was played, and then knight f6, knight c3, knight c6, knight f3, knight a5. And at this point, black played the move d5. I think okay move to give back the pawn immediately and try to get the play. It took this pawn, and here Ekansh, your opponent has berserk. He has 2 minutes 7 seconds only. You have 4 minutes and 51 seconds, and You make a move without thinking, which is a pretty bad move. Queen takes d5. His pawn was defended twice, also by the knight, and you don't even make a small blunder of taking with the knight, which would have just lost a piece, but you take it with the queen, which is a very tremendous blunder. You should just play here the move like bishop d6, castle next move, put the bishop to g4, bring the rook to the open file, and play the normal game. That easy it was. But this tremendous blunder, when you have such a long time, when you have so much time, again, you should type in the comment section what are you going to do with this all the time. The game is already lost at this point. When some other takes your queen, there is nothing to play for. Yeah, the game was more or less decided here only. We'll just quickly go through the game. He just took all the pieces and Samartha eventually checkmated him. So that's why this is the thing I want you to remember, that when you have so much time, the perfect example was said by Soumitra, who defeated me when I berserked against him. Just play against opponent's time. That's what you have to do, and you will win automatically because he has less time and he doesn't have increment as well. Okay, so next game we are going to look at is the game between Rupak and Shreyang. The one thing I like about Shreyang's game is that he's rated, although he's rated higher than Rupak, but he's still rated 1049. But he played very well attacking chess. I mean, he at least attacked. I mean, that's the important thing. Many of the players whom I have seen around this rating range, they don't go for attack. They just try to defend their own pieces. And they just plays. But I have advice for you, Shreyang. This is the feedback for you. When you are attacking, also think about opponent's attacks as well. Think about what your opponent can do as well, and also the tips that I have given you. You should remember those as well. So let's take a look at this game. This is again one more case where you can see a lower rated player, a slightly lower rated Rupak. Why did you berserk against Shreyang? Makes no sense. No, he's slightly higher rated than you. So let's have a look in the game what happened. b5, too much aggression. Shreyang. Why b5? This pawn is not protected even once. You just took it and then you went bishop g4. You can just take the knight here. You played f3. There is no reason to play f3. He has given you free knight that comes with check. You should take it first. Bishop takes c6. Then you can think about your queen, how you are going to defend the queen. So f3 I don't like at all. Bishop h5, bishop c6. Again, put the bishop back to d7. Your piece is hanging on c6, Shreya. You tried to create an attack, but you should defend your pieces. You cannot play with piece down. So bishop c6, knight d7. Okay. So Shreyang has now given up all his pieces. This fork is threatened. He defended the fork. g4, bishop g6, h3, knight f6, knight e2, h5. So far pretty normal. Knight c7, bishop b6, g5. White looks like almost has a crushing position. Bishop takes c7, g takes f6, rook g8, bishop g6, knight c7, queen c7. And now take a look at the timings of the opponent. Now white, who has berserk, has 5 seconds and Shreyang has 3 minutes and 51 seconds. So although white is completely winning on the position, by the way, free piece was given, was not taken. And now pause the video and think of white's move here. What will you play as white? Black has just captured this pawn on e4. I'm sure Rupak also saw the move, queen ha, checkmate, but the result was different. After d takes e4, you can see the result here. Black wins on time. That's the reason you should never berserk. Black just won on time here. Although black is completely losing, its checkmate in one move. White was just short of it and he lost on time in this position. That's the reason you should never berserk against an opponent higher rated than you. You should play a good game of chess. So going to next example is actually my game against Sriram. So I played the Sicilian. I was ready for Taimano, but he did not play the main line. And c4. c4 is already a bad move, blocking his own bishop. I blocked the bishop, and I will come to a specific point in this game. Here you can see, as I said earlier, the players rated in this range, the 1200 range, they try to set up a cheap trick. So he thought that after the move queen d3, his knight is not really hanging, because if I take the knight, it's checkmate. But he did not see that this knight is defending this checkmate, and I can just take his queen. So in short, with the move queen d3, he actually blundered his piece on e5, and there is no checkmate. So then he went for this g pawn attack. He played with full force, I have to say. He played with just too much aggression. So now he wants to play g5. I will move the knight, then you will checkmate. But things are not so easy when you are piece down. And in fact, when I have spotted the checkmate, that's also more important. So I just took this pawn, h3, bishop h5, and when the bishop comes to g6, white will really cry, because I will take his c2 bishop, I will bring the rook to open file. That's what happened. He just gave away all his pawns, first g pawn, then f pawn, and then I just won a queen like this with a simple double attack on king and queen. Although for the two pieces, but I have great pieces. Bishop g3 I just played to stop rook e1, as Amir sir has taught you. Prophylactic move, bishop g3, stopping the rook coming to e1, and then I just brought all my pieces in, and eventually I managed to take all his pieces and managed to give him mate at this point. Queen takes a1. You can see I had berserk, but I still have 1 minute 13 seconds, and he still has 4 minutes 38 seconds. He has not berserk, but did not use his time as well against Rhea. Type in the comment section, what are you going to do with this 4 minutes and 38 seconds? I really want to know. So again, two more games of such things where the opponent has just given free pieces. It is Atharva against Saurish now. It is really not fun for me as well to watch these games, because one of the players has really given a free piece for no reason. So after that, the game is lost anyway. So make sure you give me a good content next time. Don't blunder pieces. So this game, let's have a look. Pretty normal opening so far. The one thing that I have observed about Atharva is he's confident in his end games. He just goes for end games. You see, he's just exchanging all the pieces. And here he plays the move a5, attacking the queen. But what about the bishop on the b5 that is hanging? Okay, maybe it was a misclick, but then he just lost the piece. And the game is practically over here. He cannot do anything. And Atharva played really well. He consolidated the position. He tried to checkmate. The threat was defended. He just went back, played solid chess. Rook c1, good moves. Exchanging, protected the pawn. h3, king g7, knight d4, attacking the pawn as well as the rook. And now, how many points does the rook have? And how many points does the pawn have? You all know rook is worth 5 points, pawn is worth 1 point. So it's obvious what you should protect. Rook, right? But he played king f7. The pawn is more important. It lost a piece. Knight takes c2 came, and this black resigned here. Again, very bad time management on both parts. I can say that 4 minutes 3 seconds, not even 1 minute is used by black player, and he lost. He's already 2 pieces down in this position. So both players played really fast. Although Saurish, you are higher rated than Atharva, you should have really defeated him. And with so much time on the clock, that is not good. Now next, the game between Raj and Atharva again. Now this is the last game featuring the mistake. After that, I am going to look at some of the serious games at least where the pieces were not blundered. So again, black played aggressively Atharva. He sacrificed two pieces for the rook. A6, so far normal. Bishop take d4, queen e2, bishop c5, d6. This is already where he lost a piece because his one piece is attacked, defended. He played bishop c5, d6. Now there are two pieces under attack, and he just lost one piece. And then, as I said earlier, Atharva is confident in his endgame. So he just exchanged off everything. And now again this position. What is more important, the queen or the rook? What should you defend? Your queen is hanging. Now you see this very beautiful picture. Queen d7. What a move. So this queen is hanging here. This queen is hanging here. And it's the test of just the vision. Who sees the queen hanging first? It's not about chess. It's just about observing other pieces. Both the queens are hanging. The player whose side it is, he wins the game. Queen take d7 wins the game. What's wrong with this move? Queen up. Instead, this rook, this bishop did a really hard job of coming back and forth. So he thought that just take the rook, but hung his queen and just resigned the game. After queen takes e4. Also, yeah, he lost the rook as well. So really, Raj, this is not a good display. Protect your pieces. I mean, your rating is 1439. That tip I gave to 800 to 1200 students. You should think about it. And Atharva played really well with this, even though he's rated lower. I really doubt about his rating. He's, I guess, higher rated than this. So now let's look at some serious games for a change. So my game against Ankit, Rai Lopez it was. And I have to say, he made a mistake in the opening only. So the Rai Lopez is all about this e5 pawn. This all the moves that you play, knight c6, bishop d7, they all try to protect the e5 pawn. And in Rai Lopez, if you lose this e5 pawn, you just lose the game there. There is no play left already. So I just played bishop takes c6 here and I won a pawn. Instead of bishop d7, what you could have done, you could have gone b5, attacking the bishop and then taken this. And now there is a very common trap here that I cannot take this pawn. If I take this, then there is knight d4. If queen d4, I have to take with to maintain the piece. Then there comes c5, and whenever the queen goes, there is c4, trapping the bishop. So it was actually slight inaccuracy on my part to play the move d4 here. Little bit too aggressive. If you had played b5, you would have got, I think, a nice position. But instead you played bishop d7 and it's all about this e5 pawn, as I said already. So I just bishop takes c6, bc6, d5, d5, knight e5, pawn up. And the point exactly is that you cannot take knight take e4 because now I already castled. So your king is still in the center. By the way, you can see from this game that I have followed the general principles of the opening. I have castled, I have developed all the pieces, although these pieces are not developed, they are ready to develop in one move. But more importantly, as I said in case of the higher rated batch students, you have to stop your opponent from castling as well. Try to use the converse of all the principles. So rook e1 exactly does that. He cannot go anywhere back. Let's say he goes here, then I can just take on c6, attacking the queen, and also discovered check with the rook, taking the queen. So that's not the option. He thought for a very long time here, but there is no move really. This is already winning for white because he has to lose the piece here. So f6, and I created this attack again. Again, this weakness, whenever it is there, you have to attack. Knight g6, taking the advantage of the pin. So again, I could have taken here, but it is a forcing move first. So rook take e4 check, and then take the rook. I have to defend back rank, but there is no any piece directly coming at the back rank. So bishop f5 was played, queen h7, bishop g7, rook e1. Queen h7 was checked, so there was no time. And now I just want to to develop, I created a mating threat which forced queen h8. Now I just exchanged because I'm piece up. I just went into endgame and I won easily like this. And just piece up here, rook up, and he resigned here. So I think he played well after the opening, but losing the e5 pawn really, I mean, when you play against a higher rated player, a pawn is also enough to win. So think about your moves earlier, opening setups, as I told you already. Now let's look at the next game. This is the review for Soumitra. Let me connect the charger. So against Soumitra, I played two games. The first one I won, where I did not buzzer. The second one I lost, where I did buzzer. So let's have a look at the game. I was playing with the white pieces in this game with the board. So he played my opening that I had taught him, not my opening, but Taimano he tried to play, but I surprised him with this anti-Sicilian, which is called as the King's Indian attack. So it is basically a reversed King's Indian that you play with the black, the King's Indian defense, with white you play King's Indian attack. This system you can play against French defense, against Sicilian, Taimano, all these openings. Now, because now we are moving towards the higher rated students, I would go into a little bit of depth here and tell you that after e5, the knight usually goes to d7. Knight d7 is the most common move. And the thing in King's Indian is, as in King's Indian defense, in this King's Indian also is that you play knight d7, you play b5, a5, c4, and you are playing the white side of the King's Indian here actually. So you should try to gain attack on the queen side. Should not touch on the king side. So knight g4 is already a step in the wrong direction. I need to protect my pawn on e5. So queen e2 was played, and then c4, again stopping your pawns from advancing and also creating the pressure against this pawn on d5. So bishop d7, knight f1, f6. I just took. So far normal. You have played very normally till now. There is no real problem with this play. Knight h2. This is the typical plan in King's Indian to go knight d2, knight f1, knight g3, knight g4, knight g5. So this bishop is now not useful, and I really don't like this move d4 here, because this knight can come at any point to d4 whenever I move this knight. So this d4 square belongs to your knight on c6. So d4 I don't like, fixing the pawn structure. Also it gives up the e4 square, as we will see. I made use of it. And after these moves, rook h6 was the first mistake really. But you can see that Soumitra has at least used his time very wisely. He has spent all the 4 minutes, but at this point he cracked and played the rook h6. I think white is slightly better here with his bishop coming to e4, knight coming to g4. But rook h6 was really uncalled for. There is no attack here on me. He maybe thought that rook take h4, but that is too ambitious, because after knight g4 the rook is trapped. The rook cannot go anywhere. He went to h5 on strange square. I played bishop e4 attacking the h7 pawn. If he plays g6, I have knight f6, 4, you can say family 4, attacking the two rooks at the same time. So after bishop e4 he gave up the exchange and played e5. But again, the light squares are weak, and again I have a typical King's Indian plan to just play king g2, rook h1, and pressure this pawn. He cannot move any of these pawns because my pawn on g5 is also very strong. So he played exchanged bishop for the knight, but with as many pieces he exchanged, he is left with less defenders as well. So I just went for this plan. He played g6, bishop d5 check, you see how these light squares are weakened when he gave up this bishop. King g7, and now you can pause the video and try to think for white what can you do here. White to play and win. Again, you can write the answer in the comment section by saying the name from my game. So finish is easy. I just play rook takes h7 here. The king cannot go anywhere. He has to take the rook and then queen h4. And because of this pawn on g5, I queen h6. Bishop covers the diagonal and the queen is nicely checkmating the king here. So this was a well played game by Soumitra actually. Up to some point, up to he played rook h6. Rook h6 was a mistake. Till that point, it was a very decent game actually. Next game is the game only game that I lost. I berserked against Soumitra. This is the thing about the this league chess tournament. You want to finish first, you have got to berserk. But I know that Soumitra is playing good, so I shouldn't have berserked probably. But then I would have finished maybe a 6th, 7th, or 8th. So again, Danish gambit here by Soumitra. I played this setup. This is all pretty known to me, and I actually got a pretty decent position in the game. I pushed his pieces back. I got a control over the light squares after this move d5. My second bishop is also going to open up. Bishop f4. I just traded off every pieces because I'm pawn up in this position, and I had a winning position at one point, but as you can see that I had berserk, so the time was really low, and Soumitra played very well. I mean, there is no mistake that I can show you from his side. In this end game, I am already better, I think, because I'm pawn up and the bishop generally dominates when the pawns are on the both the sides of the board. But you can see I have 19 seconds only and without increment, and he has 34 but with increment. So that makes a huge difference. Although I should have probably converted it, but I used a lot of time and I have only 12 seconds. I got a winning position here. This is completely winning pawn endgame for me because I created a passer. And after b7 I blundered here. Although the check is still fine, I should just instead of giving this check, I should just go queen a1. If he makes the queen, I take the pawn on a3 and then I exchange queens, and then I push e5 and this pawn queens. So this was really a simple calculation that I should have done, but as you can see at this point I had only 2 seconds, so not easy to spot in 2 seconds, and anyway I wouldn't have been able to checkmate also. So the berserk went wrong, you can say, in this game, and Soumitra played really well. We got this position which is easily winning for white with the center pawns and the knight pawns. It is winning for the side having the queen. If you have the bishop pawn or the rook pawn, then it's a draw because of the stalemate, and white king is also away. So in that case only it is drawn, otherwise white wins. So this position is also winning for white. You just have to keep on pinning the pawn. This was not played in the game, so I'm just showing you. I lost on time couple of moves earlier. At this point only I lost on time, but this is the technique. Whenever you should always keep on pinning the pawn, and whenever it goes in front of the pawn you bring the king, and eventually with this move you will pick up the pawn and you will give the mate. So this was the win that was scored by Soumitra, that I think gave him the first prize. Now next example I'm going to show you. Now just a case I'm going to show is the game by Jai versus Omkar, my game. Again, a normal opening was played. I would just like to show you one position in this game. Not going to deep. Yeah, this position. So this pin exists in the position. I am attacking his pinned piece, and he has 4 minutes 58 seconds still. not even looks like the game has just started, and he commits a horrible mistake at this point only. Jay, you are really a good player, 13-21. I want you to think about your games. I know what Jay did in the tournament, as if you can see. He played so many games. He just played every game fast that worked in this tournament, but that doesn't really help your quality of the game. You should try to focus on quality. And speaking about the quality, I would really like to mention that Kshitij played really well. Look at his score. He just lost a final game, which is understandable because he wanted to finish in a higher spot. That he could have played faster, but if you look at the consistency, the first 5 games he won without any problems. So that is really impressive. So this game, this pin is deadly already. This knight is under tremendous pressure, but rook e3 is already a mistake. This bishop is pointing towards this rook, and he just blundered an exchange here. And then a few other moves. I won a piece here with a simple tactic. Let's see if you can spot it quickly. Black to play and win. How would you use a simple tactic here? Bishop takes c3, queen c3, b5. Using this pin again. So he played queen b3, rook c4, and he spotted this trick of counter pin that my queen is pinned. But although bishop take e5 is a cool move, it is actually a losing move, I think, because after d takes e5, you can say it's a queen sacrifice. But have a look at the position that results from this queen sacrifice. This queen is completely dominated. King f1, and after a few many moves, you can see that these rooks cover all the files. The queen has nowhere to go, perfectly dominated by all the pieces. There are just no squares on the board where the queen can go. And usually the two rooks are equal against the queen, but with the knight, it's completely winning position. So although bishop take e5 was a nice spot, it's already a lost position after this exchanges. And you can see the point that he has done this, how much time he has. He has 4 minutes and 7 seconds in this game. So it's already a lost position, but he has not even spent a 1 minute, which is I don't like that. I want all of you to spend your time really well from next tournament. So just taking a quick look at the Kshitij game. Kshitij played very well. So this is the game where Samartha got advantage, but he played very slow. So that's the advice for Samartha. When you have a winning position, try to play fast. At this point, let me go there. So this point, he spent a lot of time studying this tactic: knight f4, g4, and queen f4. And after that few moves, he also blundered the rook. So Kshitij did not really play well, blundering the rook, but eventually he managed to swindle him somehow with the weaknesses around the king. And Samartha is already down time, you can see it only has 10 seconds, so there was nothing to play for. And also I would like to come to this point. The evaluation change really happened at this point. So after fg6, rook g6, he played this move queen take g6. But I can show you one line. If you remember my game against Jay, the material balance is almost same, but instead of this bishop, instead of I had the knight, he had this bishop. So he played queen take g6, but the problem is after queen take g6, rook g7, he lost this bishop. So instead of this, what he could have done, he could have defended it with this move. Then white would have captured the queen, and after rook takes f6, you can see the material balance is exactly like the game against Jai. The two rook and bishop are easily winning position for black. So I can understand that he was down on time and he sacrificed the queen and his bishop also lost. But rook g7 still would have given him a winning position. Somewhere to think about it. Next game between Sanchit and Kshitij. Yeah, this game I was really surprised and upset both. Uh, I'll just get to a critical position of this game. So this is the position when black has played the move c6. Just look at the both the players' clock time. Sanchit has 4 minutes and 44 seconds at move 27. The time control is 5 minutes plus 3 seconds, by the way, and Kshitij is 4 minutes and 1 second. Why so fast, guys? And again, if he would have spent a little time to push the pawn to d6 and then capture with this bishop, white is completely winning. Look at this passed pawn. And if you see what happened in the game slowly turned in black's favor. If I go from that position, he played immediately rook take e2, and still we got this rook endgame where we reached this position. White should never really lose this. How can white lose this? Equal number of pawns, but this little threat created by black. He played king e4, allowing rook c2 and losing this pawn, after which the game is pretty much over because all the pawns were lost. What he has to do instead is, after king d3 was mistake, rook c2, yeah, the rook c2 is the threat, but king d3 is not really a way to defend that threat because it is protected. You can make any other move like h4, and when he plays rook c2, you can play rook d2 and defend against this pawn. That was really strange, and you can see how much time still they have in this position. 4 minutes 8 and 4 minutes 37 in this rook end game. That position we saw that they also had time there, and now also they have more than 4 minutes, and yet white commits a mistake of king d3. Guys, players study rook end games so that they get so that they understand them well and try to play them on 20 seconds. Grandmasters study these end games so that they can play those end games, not grandmasters every players, because end games are usually played when there are seconds on the clock, and you have 4 minutes 37 seconds and you make a losing move in a drawn rook end game. Not really expected with the players rated so high, with a player rated 1764 and 1547. That's really not good. You have so much time to think. So that was a very bad time management according to me. So I don't want that mistake to happen. And the last game, actually, congratulations to you, Samartha. You really played this game well. I managed to trick him in the end to secure a draw, but I was outplayed throughout the game, I have to say. I played opening very bad. He played perfect move. From this point, he is playing perfectly. Exchanged the bishop. When I committed weaknesses in my position, he exchanged right pieces, won the pawn on d5, exchanged all the pieces. My king is weak, and that was just the perfect game. Instead of king g7, he could have played g5. I think it was better. This pawn is not really a target because it is defended twice. King g7 gave me a little bit of attacking chance to queen g7. Here I could have forced a draw with rook e5, d e5 and queen e5, and it's a draw by perpetual check. You can see how much time I spent here. I have 2 minutes 20 seconds here, and I played bishop e4 here, and my time went to 1 minute 14 seconds. So I spent that much time here calculating this draw, which I calculated, but I thought I should play for win, and I played this move bishop e4, and this all were perfectly played by both of us. And actually the point that I want to make is that you should analyze your own games. I saw a very nice winning idea here. Let's see if you guys can see it. So here, after a2, you can pause the video and think it is white to play and get an advantage. How would you get advantage by playing with the white pieces here? I already had 20 seconds, so I did not spot that, and it's also a very cute idea. So something that I learned as well by analyzing my own game. So white has a very nice sacrifice here. Rook takes a2. Such a beautiful move. After rook take a2, you can see that this bishop is such a powerhouse. That after rook takes a2, you just play c7. And although the rook is so powerful, both the entrance squares are covered by this bishop. Such a nice bishop this is. And the next move I'm going to get a queen. This was a really nice tactic that I missed in the time pressure, and then it was a draw, and I misclicked here actually. My mouse got dragged away. I wanted to play bishop f3 obviously, and after rook e4 I was lost. But I fought on, and I had seen this trick where I am stalemated after rook g5. I have no squares to go to. Everything is covered, so my rook is now ready, is has the free roll. Now he is ready to play like all the other players play. I just want to give up this rook, and it's a stalemate. So that's the way I saved this game, but very well played by Samartha, really nice. He just outplayed me, although I had a drawn endgame and a win also at some point. That really didn't matter. He really played well, so congratulations to him. And that's it. That's my report for you guys. And I have a suggestion for you to create a Swiss league. I will talk about it later, but with this standing I will end the video here. Thank you guys for watching. Learn from your mistakes.